Human beings have always sought to communicate with the divine, either for the great need for certainty or to just have a dialogue, right? Because they believed that they could. We don't have that in our culture. Like, we are taught that materialism is our number one, that's our reality. But in fact, the invisible world, the conscious universe is always communicating with us. And we are always like participating by sending out a frequency or a signal. There is a sacred dynamic relationship that we can have with the conscious universe that answers back when we use a system that has been made for this direct communication. And that's what the oracle cards are. How can I bring my nervous system into alignment so that I'm not attached? But that's as part of the spiritual path. It's not grasping, grubby hands that are like, give me that because I want that thing. It's not the thing you want. You want what that thing is going to make you feel.
The universe isn't running on fate, and that we have more say in how we experience things, and that we can be a leader in our own life by simply really understanding the cues that the universe is sending us.
If you don't think of prosperity as compassionate prosperity, you're just thinking of yourself. I think of prosperity as, who can I help? I'm going to keep this flowing. I always have to have that. I want to visualize, if I get a thing, I want to know that the person who made the thing benefits. I want to actually see that at some point.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dreamcatcher podcast, a place where your dreams can find a voice. I'm your host, Celine Chenoy. Thank you to all of you who return every week to tune in to become a better version of yourself. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and rate our show if you enjoy this episode. Do you ever wonder why your vision board isn't quite bringing you what you want? Or why your goals still feel out of reach, no matter how many times you write them down? You are not alone. So many people struggle with turning dreams into real change. But what if you could draw your desires into reality using a simple brain-based method? Well, in today's episode, you'll hear from my guest, Colette Baron-Reid, who has designed a practice that puts creativity and science on your side. By giving yourself this creative time, you're not just thinking about change, but making it your reality. Colette Baron-Reid is an internationally respected author, educator, spiritual intuitive, medium, and oracle expert. Her best-selling books and oracle cards are published worldwide in 27 languages. She is a founder of Oracle School, a global online learning platform with students in 35 countries, where self-empowerment, co-creation, and ancient oracle meet in a modern, contemporary way. Colette is also the creator of the energy psychology technique Invision, the Total Mindshift Process. Colette will describe a unique approach that uses easy drawing to help reset old habits and link your intentions with something bigger. All you need is a pen, some paper, and a bit of imagination. With these, you can start shaping a life that truly excites you and work with the energy of the universe. Are you ready to see what happens when you become the artist of your future? Let's meet Colette and start this journey together. Hi, Colette. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous. I will tell you this right now. I have a little tiny dog on my lap who is not shaking, which is a big deal. And I'm good. It's a beautiful day. I'm heading into the fall, my favorite season, and I've got a new book coming up. I'm rocking.
I'm glad that you're having a wonderful start to the day, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. I actually did a Oracle card reading workshop with you about 10 years ago in Phoenix, Arizona.
Cool.
And yeah, I did. So we have met in person, but wow. I'm pretty sure you don't remember me because I was like one of the many students in there, and I absolutely loved it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot, especially when it comes to reading our intuition and really getting in touch with that part of ourselves. And I own a couple of your Oracle and Tarot card decks, which I use on a regular basis. Yes, I do. I do. So it's just wonderful to be able to. Yeah, I'm just so happy to connect with you so that we can do a deeper dive into some of the themes that you're known for, the subjects that you're known for.
Great. Love it. And do you know I have a new book coming out, right, in September?
Yes, we are going to be talking about that. I did read it. I did read it.
Did you? Did you do the exercises?
I did not, unfortunately, but I do plan on doing it. I do plan on doing it. Yeah. I actually just got back from vacation. So I was just like,
oh, nice.
I just want to be as prepared as possible. So I read the book and, but I'm like, I'm going to do the exercises for sure. Cause it was so intriguing. It's such a novel concept and we'll definitely get into that later on. Okay. But first I want to talk about what you're most known for, your gorgeous Oracle cards, right? Yes. And I'm curious to know, Colette, as you explored this art and you created these beautiful decks, what did you learn about the connections between our thoughts, our beliefs, and the signals that we put out into the universe?
Okay. Wow. That is a beautiful, big question. Fancy question. Okay. So let's go right to what is divination, because I think that would help us, right? Mm-hmm. So I produced 19 Oracle card decks. Mm-hmm. One of the decks is all my own art because I'm also an artist. The rest were done with an incredible artist and one of my best friends, Jenna de la Gratalia, who does her own decks now. Anyhow, so, and then one with Joel Nakamura, who's amazing. So when I started doing this, I had actually began when I was making a living doing readings while I was pursuing a music career, just so you know. So that doing readings was like my day job. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like, I was just doing that to support my career as a recording artist, as a musician, right? And so I was working with the tarot, which I started working with since I was like 17. But I started doing readings just after I had gotten clean and sober. So that's, I'm almost 40 years sober. So that was just around that time ago, right? So I've been doing this work in many forms for now full-time for about 37 years. So when I started working with the clients with the tarot, I started recognizing that they were really a cultural artifact of the medieval times. They were not particularly true, even though they worked off of universal archetypes. They still had kind of that medievalistic quality to it, where you had like the swords and the, being left out of a church, and even some of the imagery that was traditional, right? So, and I'm a non-traditionalist. I'm like, okay, what can we do to make this more modern? And I did notice that my clients would get really freaked out if they saw death and they didn't understand it was transformation because he had the guy with the scythe and all that, or or like the cards that they considered negative. So I had been obsessed with divination, different types of divination systems since I was in my teens. And I read all these obscure books. That was kind of what I did in my 20s. It was my interest, right? It was kind of like a fascinating thing. Like, how do people look into the sky and see clouds and learn about that? What is bird augury? Like, how do you read water? Right? So this was stuff I was interested in. And I thought, well, there must be an intersection here that between some of the more ancient divination systems, like the I Ching, like Norse runes, like the tarot, which we know for sure showed up in medieval age, but people claim that it happened from Egypt. But bottom line, at the end of the day, there had to be some universality amongst these vocabularies. And so I kind of came up with the 33 main themes and made my own deck. So it became like my own personal clarity deck. I'm actually teaching people how to do that in Oracle School this year, and that nobody can join it. It's already closed, but it's the new thing that I'm doing is basically teaching people, as I'm 67, it's time to give away all my secrets. So what I learned was that human beings have always sought to communicate with the divine, either for the great need for certainty or to just have a dialogue. right? Because they believed that they could. We don't have that in our culture. Like, we are taught that materialism is our number one, that's our reality. But in fact, the invisible world, conscious universe is always communicating with us. And we are always, like you mentioned, participating by sending out a frequency or a signal. So we're kind of like, and I think the brain, you read my book, so you know there's a lot of science in there.
Yes,
a lot of nerd alerts. A lot of nerd alerts in the book. We got a lot of reading.
Yeah.
But the brain basically operates as like a radio, like it's a transmitter and it's a receiver. And so our ancient ancestors knew this. They just knew it. They didn't know, but the brain did that. They just knew that they could communicate with divine forces using some type of language, which they would either scrape onto, stones or bones, or, like, what were the earliest forms? And in the I Ching, for example, those were sticks or coins, right? So that's like thousands and thousands of years old. And then that became a part of the culture at the time. So what about us now? Like, can these things still be used? And of course they can. As a matter of fact, it's ubiquitous now. Everybody's making oracle cards. Everybody's bought them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's a beautiful way in which for us to acknowledge that there is a sacred dynamic relationship that we can have with the conscious universe that answers back. That does answer back when we use a system that has been made for this direct communication. And that's what the oracle cards are. At least mine are. The 19 versions of them are.
Yeah. And you do believe in the whole idea of co-creating with the universe, because you mentioned somewhere, I don't remember where I read this, that the universe isn't running on fate, and that we have more say in how we experience things, and that we can be a leader in our own life by simply really understanding the cues that the universe is sending us and kind of going with the flow based on the information that we received. I'd love for you to expand more on that.
Big degree. Mm-hmm. Yes and no, because you have a hard time telling me that works for people in a war-torn country where they're starving.
Yes,
so,
of course.
So let's be honest, that there's going to be an override, that there will be an override, that at times when the collective is being used to play out a certain thing, and we don't know why that happens, but we're the bystanders. If we're listening to this and you and I are here, we're bystanders of that. So you can't. Nobody there is thinking about manifesting their reality.
No, they're not. No,
they're not. Right. So let's call that out for what it is. When we are in a situation where we don't have the stress and we practice and rehearse a quality of ownership and agency, right, over our participation, it's a co-participation in our lives, especially after a period of difficulty, when we're really trying to find our own agency. And how can we, co-create or partner with a conscious universe to call in the form that matches the essence that we've rehearsed over time. And that's why you see people who have expectations that they're always going to do well. People who expect to have, right, to see the hole in the donut before they see the donut are going to see that hole first. And that's just fact. That's just a fact. And it's actually science, because the reticular activating system of your brain is going to take those eyeballs of yours and look for a clue and evidence that what you have rehearsed internally over and over again and condition yourself to expect something is going to show you that. Why? Because there's too much stimuli in the outer world for us. We would go mad if we tuned into everything. So there's a sorting system. So I'm not the first person that has talked about this at all. I mean, look at Dr. Joe Dispenza's entire body of work is about this.
It's about you.
Right. It's totally. Go ahead. Were you going to ask me another question?
Yeah. I mean, this is just a segue to what you were just saying. I'm sure a common question that you get from people is that when they're manifesting, how do they have a healthy level of detachment from whatever it is that they want to create in their lives? Because it can be easy to be like really, really attached to that vision.
That doesn't work. Attachment doesn't work.
So what advice do you give to your students who say that they have this problem?
So everybody has that problem. Like it's not just the student, my
Yeah.
student. It's
Yeah.
everybody. We start with a sense of attachment because it starts with desire. Then we have to practice surrender. It is a practice. It's not, and you have to do it one day at a time. You're not going to just do it once and it's all gone, because we have the reason why we become attached to the potential of an outcome is because we are craving certainty. Most people that start working around manifestation techniques is because they want certainty. They want to know that what they're going to get is what they want. What they want, they want it. They're going to do that. And if somebody tells them they can, then they're going to go do that. And then they're going to be really upset with themselves if it doesn't happen, or pissed off at the person who taught them, when this is not what this is. This is a dance is recognize a desire. The dance is choose an intention, rehearse it, and be grateful for it in advance, which is the law of praise, and then surrender it to the universe. That's the hardest part. So it's not easy. This isn't easy. Nobody's like, people are saying, oh, it's so easy. Well, it's easy. It becomes easier when you have certain techniques that enable you to get into a zone, like, which is what the art of manifesting is, when you're being able to draw, or when you work with oracle cards. You know, even any kind of thing where you're like, okay, how can I bring my nervous system into alignment so that I'm not attached? But that's as part of the spiritual path. It's not grasping, grubby hands that are like, give me that because I want that thing. It's not the thing you want. You want what that thing is going to make you feel.
Oh,
what
so true.
Right? So I teach people how to feel first. It's like, how do we want to feel? And honest to God, I'll give you a really great example. And anybody can do this. Now, do you have a pet?
Yes, I do. I have a dog.
Okay. Do you remember when you got your dog? Okay. Remember the very first time you saw your dog?
Oh,
okay.
Just love, pure love.
Right? Okay. And do you remember how your dog smelled? Was it a puppy or was it an older dog?
It was a puppy.
Okay. You got a puppy, right? Okay. Yeah. So I can tell you, when I had just lost a dog to brain lesions. I only had her for 3 months and I was completely devastated. And I'm a dog mom, so I always have dogs. Always, one goes, come in, another one. I don't wait to get over it. I just go, okay, who needs me next, right? So, so when this one on my lap, who has a heart condition, actually, I always get the sick ones. But anyhow, so when she came, I went all the way to Michigan to meet this little dog. And I was nervous, but I don't know, because I had been so devastated, but I thought, I've got to get over this. I have to give this good dog a good quality of life and whatever. And I smelled her. So I smelled her little head and her puppy breath. And I was just overwhelmed with gratitude. I started to cry. So that moment. So I always tell people, the first minute you set eyes on your pet or a dog or a little cat or your kid or a baby is when you are grateful and in awe in that moment, because there is God, there is a divine, use whatever language you want. So I use that as a jumping off point. If you can't think of how you want to feel, you felt that once in your life. Once in your life, you come and conjure that feeling. Because if that's what you want, more awe, more reverence, more wow, I'm so grateful, right? Because you're also in a relationship. Like prosperity is, if you don't think of prosperity as compassionate prosperity, you're just thinking of yourself. I think of prosperity as, who can I help? I'm going to keep this flowing. I always have to have that. I want to visualize. If I get a thing, I want to know that the person who made the thing benefits. I want to actually see that at some point. But if I can't think of the story, I think of Bazoo. Like, I just remember her smell, how I felt, how my heart opened, and how she healed me in that moment from the devastating loss of the other one. Just right there. See what I mean? So now you get what I mean, right? So
I mean, I'm having a breakthrough, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners and viewers are too. Yeah, I mean, that's what we all forget. We got to focus on the feeling and not lock into like our agenda and what we think it should look like. I want it this way. I want it on my timeline. It's just the ego creeps in and just tries to control everything, as you said.
And it's never going away. right? Like the ego is going to listen, the ego has landed, right? And it's going to stick around and it'll wake up some days before you do. And it's at the end of the bed going, and you're going to have to deal, right? This is not a journey of perfection. The spiritual path is a journey of hardship. Yeah. It can bring you suffering because you have to let go of things, and it can bring you immense joy, optimism, hope, and a connection to something higher where you are liberated from those ambitions and attachments. And come back and maybe wake up the same and forget everything that I just said, right? And that's kind of the way it works. But the more we can spend with you and your dog feeling, the more you can rehearse that, the more things in your life, like maybe that situation that you wanted to bring to yourself that you thought was supposed to be this way is going to make you feel like that. And then the package might be different, but it's the right form for you. And so like when I teach my vision board, does that make sense? Right? Yeah,
it does. It does.
So I taught a vision board challenge earlier this year on January 6th at the Epiphany. And I taught everybody for the first time. It was the first time I did it live in front of people. So I finally, instead of, I questioned myself going like, what is it that border, because you always have a border. That's how I learned it. You have to put a border to signify to the universe. Inside this border is what I'm calling into manifest form, right? In the border. And then, typically what I learned anyway, like 40 years ago from Unity Church, when I did my very first one, was this or something better now manifests for me in divine appropriate timing. That was a typical statement. And then I questioned it a couple of years ago going like, what do I mean by that? This or something better? Like, what does that mean? Give me this or better than this, or I'll be mad. It's just like this or something better. And I'm like, do I really believe that? So I thought, well, wait a sec. How do these things actually come about? They come about through synchronicity. So where is that? Where is the room for that? So I started a whole new way to do vision boards where the border was like this. You had a bigger empty space. The border was smaller. I have the drawing technique, the line drawing, very simple. Just instead of the pictures you picked out of magazines, you just put these little kind of symbols of what you want in there, and then rehearse it with the feeling state. But then there's this giant border, and I say surprise me, because that's the zone of synchronicity. So we draw these big circles in there, and spirit's going to fill those. I'm going to say, I don't really know. I think I want the thing in here. I'll admit, you might not think that's the right thing for me right now. So I'm going to get you to surprise me. And then I go with curiosity. We cannot be curious. And sometimes we will miss the opportunity altogether because we are fixed on our desire. I'm coming from experience. I did that. Like I had a career in the music industry that I chased, I suffered over, I drove myself mental. And I was like, and on this side, it came so easy. I didn't even want to, I used to tell people, oh, I don't really do this. I'm only a singer. Like, don't come back next year. That's what I would tell people. Like, I'm like, this is not me. Of course it was me. And I kept, no, universe, hello. I get the whole thing here, but over there is what I want. Over here is like, no, but I got everything I wanted. The way I felt about myself, the way I felt about my life, the amazing life came from this career right here, not the other one. Even when I got the record deal, I was miserable. I was too fat, too old, too this, too that. It was just horrific. And then I had to quit after 2 albums. I'm like, I cannot handle this. I will drink.
Yeah. So it's essentially trusting that the universe has more wisdom about what would be right for you and what would align with your soul path and what you're called here to do, right?
I only dated guys that were hot, dark, Moroccan, Italian, Moroccan, dark, swarthy, hot guys, right? That drove fancy cars. I hate to be honest. I mean, I am going to just admit this right here out loud. And I expect, and I,
you're gorgeous. So that doesn't surprise me.
So check it out. I've never been attracted to blonde men with blue eyes. No, give me that swarthy, dark, whoa. Right.
So you had a type.
I had a type, and I was putting that type down. I was putting it down. Okay. On those vision boards. That's what I want. This is the only thing. didn't I run into this man, and he had only, his type was tall, blonde, skinny models. Hello. And the two of us met. We've been together we were met for a booty call, I'll be honest. This is way back. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just,
and they still happen today.
It's a 23-year booty call. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been together 23 years. So happy. I was not his type. He was not my type, but we were each other's soulmates.
Wow.
And we found out what we both really needed and fell in love in spite of the fact that we didn't look, but then now he's the most handsome guy on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. He thinks I'm gorgeous. Right. But at first we were like, oh, he was a model too. Like he was way too pretty. Oh my God. My husband was like way too pretty for me. Like, oh my God, no way am I going to date you. Yeah. So my point is, I manifested him. You know how? Because I will tell you how. I imagined how I was going to feel every day looking at that vision board, even though I got confused because the way they looked. The guys, I only picked out pictures of hot guys on motorcycles, although we both rode Harleys at the point. So that was good. That matched. But I believe that I felt a respect, and I rehearsed holding hands with this man, whoever he was, in my head and my heart, about how I would feel about holding the hand of a man who respected himself and respected me. And the reason I say respected himself is that I am a firecracker, and that guy better know how to handle me and he could, I will tell you that. And he was so self-respecting. He actually even said to me early on, and we have never once even said shut up to the other one in 23 years.
Wow.
He said right in the beginning, if this relationship is going to work, neither one of us will ever disrespect the other one. I'm like, oh, I did once under my breath. I said, shut up to my dog, meaning it was me making me mad. And he's like, that's instructions. So I never did it again. But it's like, I wanted to know what it felt like to be with somebody who had great integrity, morals, principles, and would be great in bed. I'll be honest. And he is all those things. And that would be okay with me being an intuitive.
Yeah.
And spiritual. Like I literally ticked off all the boxes.
Yeah.
It came in a blonde package.
Wow. Well, I'm sure that's giving hope to all the singles out there who are looking for true love. So what advice would you give to those who are trying to manifest their perfect partner, or who they think would be their perfect partner?
Know how you want to feel with the person.
Yes.
Right?
Going back to that.
I do think, I know that I talk to you like this because I know you're younger and your audience is probably younger, right? And I'm 67. So I've been around the block a few times, and I'm talking about what happened when I was 40, right? So, or younger even.
I'm 40.
Well, there you go. Oh, wow. I thought you were 25. Okay. Well, there you go. You're 40. All right, good. Yeah. So I didn't meet my husband until I had a starter husband when I was 8, but I love him to pieces. His mom and I are still friends, but whatever. That was a rehearsal. So I found that if you know how you want to feel, right? Like I had a lot of violence. I'm an ex-drug addict. Now I'm almost 40 years clean and sober. But I had some sexual violence in my 20s, and I never really got over that. So I had a series of quite abusive relationships with men. I was with a sex addict for 9 years. Like I've been exposed to a lot of dysfunction, if you will, right? And I chose, it took me a long time to realize I was the common denominator that picked those people. And so I finally went into really understanding why I was choosing the unavailable men, why I was choosing those things. That something in me really was actually afraid of the intimacy and what that would mean, because then they would see the flaws, or they would know what had happened to me, and therefore I was somehow flawed, dirty. I asked for it, whatever. I think when you have such an experience, a lot of women, we lose our agency. And lose the ability to protect ourselves, right? So I was pretty messed up, and I kind of just shoved that down. So I realized that what I was most afraid of, see, I could easily deal with a guy who was going to treat me badly or fool around on me, because then it would be over. And I didn't really have to lose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I really was intimate with somebody. So this time I said, I'm going to meet somebody and I am going to be willing to be vulnerable when it's time. I'm going to let God pick, or the goddess, or whatever it's all whatever your titles are, but the universe is going to be my partner, because I admitted to myself, you don't know how to pick. Your picker is broken. Right. So I'm like, okay, I will not rely on the picker to do it. I'm going to rely on synchronicity, right? Because what I choose will not be that. So I just kept rehearsing how I wanted to feel. I got 2 toothbrushes. I was living alone with my little dog. So I got 2 toothbrushes. I made space in my closet with extra hangers. I had a drawer that was empty just in case. I always have 2 cups of coffee when I had coffee. I did that for a month. And I didn't date anybody for a year. I took myself off and didn't date at all until I really was honest with myself about what I really wanted. Right. And that I wanted to be treated well, but I needed to believe that I was worthy. Right. Because we get conditioned. Right. And, that we all of us, we all get conditioned to see ourselves through a lens, especially now with social media. If you don't look like you're duck faced and snatched and done the jab and God knows what the hell else, right? And living the life, living the big life, right?
Yeah.
It can be really torturous. And
absolutely.
And what is expected of us, we have to be sexually available all the time. Like, it was like, what does that even mean? And like, what does any of it mean? And so you got to get honest.
Yeah.
You got to get honest. Don't play the game. Just say, you know what, this is me and I am so worthy. So I practiced being worthy and I took myself out on dates. That's what I did. And I'm like, I rock. Like I'm okay. And then I also came to a place where it's like, I really wanted that partner, but I had to be okay if it didn't happen. And that was a hard one, because I really, really believed I wanted to be with somebody. But then I thought, you know what? What could I fall in love with life for the sake of falling in love with life? And, and I'll be honest too, having a pet that you fall in love with also helps you, because you know what love feels like, right? Yeah. It's unconditional. Now, my husband will argue with this, but I like to say he comes first. But I will say, and the dogs are, there's, I don't know, some days it's like this, but I have this great friendship also, buddy. And that's scary. That's scary too, because that person knows you and can call you on your stuff, right? And that's what I really genuinely needed, was where I could relax and trust.
Yeah.
But I believe there are so many good men out there. Oh, the other thing, because I did for a while coach. For a few years I did it. And I just stopped because I was coaching, because people had to use the internet, right? And I said, don't talk to anybody on the internet. Now it's different now because you guys have all this
apps
stuff. Apps, but I don't know if it still works, but if you could look at them without swiping at all. But what I suggested, and I did this with a few clients and they all met somebody. So I said, don't engage, because the women who came to me and said there are no good men out there, they were my favorites, because I'd say, okay, there are no good men out there. We're going to go on the internet and you're not allowed to talk to these people ever. Not for 30 days. You're not allowed to say yes, even if they email you or whatever, do not respond. So you can't find out that they're not for you, right? So start to look at the numbers of men who are out there that are stating that they want a long-term relationship. Then you train your reticular activating system of the brain, right? Because you have now evidence. Whether they're true or not, it doesn't matter. You've seen that. You can't unsee that you've just seen 100 good-looking men, or men who are saying, I want to get married.
So going from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. Yeah.
I could have said that, but yeah, thank you. Always just cut me off and tell me the short version.
No, I'm just framing it.
Yes, frame it perfectly. I know I go on too long, but it is true. We have scarcity. And
Mm.
also I feel bad for young men right now. Like, or well, you're not like when I say young men, I think of 40s,
Yeah.
because they've been taught now they're
Mm.
not allowed to flirt, right? I mean, how
Yeah. They have a
right?
lot of
Like
restrictions now, a lot of expectations on
awful.
them. Yeah, it's hard for them, for
Like,
sure.
what do we have to do to put a sign and go, I am free. I am available. Are you? Don't worry. You can flirt with me. Like, I think that I understand everything's gotten quite distorted right now, but for single men and women,
Mm.
with the fear that like a guy could be, if he makes the wrong move at the wrong time, like in my past, we'd be like, if that happened, you just like, F you, get out. Like, and next, which just wasn't a thing. Like we were just, I could learn to take care of myself. If they did something, I'd be like, get out of town. I'm not even interested in you now, like out. Right. But then right. I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't think to tell and like make a big thing. It's
Hmm.
like, this did certain things that today would be absolutely verboten,
Mm.
right? But that's what was our normal, right?
Right.
And you just learned to say no, right? And we weren't so sensitive, and like, we were a little tougher, I think, too.
I think so.
Although,
I agree.
right? I think like we need to toughen up now, like, and the guys need to well, no. I think the signals have to be very clear between men and women.
Mm.
I think that the guys now are actually in the deficit
Hmm.
because, and we also, let's say if I was single right now, oh my God, who'd open the door for me? Nobody can open the door for you anymore, touch you, do anything without it being like a thing. Like
Right.
where's chivalry now? Like all of the ways. And I like that. I want a man to open my door.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be in your feminine energy and you want to be in his
Yeah,
masculine energy. Yeah.
that's, yeah. And I don't want to get into gender conversations, but I mean, if you choose that you're more choosing the feminine, that's great. If that wants
Mm.
to, then fine. It's
Yeah.
just that is a difference between what is feminine and what is masculine. There is a difference, right?
Hmm.
We want that masculinity. That's how we are biologically set up too. Like
That's
we
true.
want that energy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it's dislocated, how are you going to find your partner? How are you going to mate and
Yeah. That
have babies?
polarity will not be there if, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little worrisome right now,
Yeah.
I think. But at the same time, I also
Yeah.
believe magic. That my mom used to say to me, there to every pot there is a lid, right? Every pot there is a lid. So you get your lid, right? So there, no matter whether there is trouble and difficulty finding the right partner right now, I still think that rehearsing how you want to feel and then being open to meeting any which way. It may not be online, it may not be on an app, but you saw
Mm.
all of them on the app.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the upcoming launch of my new book titled The Nomadic Soul, a seeker's guide to finding a sense of self and belonging in the modern world, which highlights a profound yet often unexplored part of your identity that holds the key to everything from answering your biggest questions to finding deeper meaning and joy in everyday life. Visit thenomadicsoulbook.com to learn more, download a free chapter, or to buy a copy. There are people who feel unsure and just don't have that kind of faith, like as you said, in their personal life, that they are actually going to meet their soulmate, or they're going to manifest the job of their dreams or build a business that they're proud of. What would you say to someone who feels like they don't have that ability?
How about, okay, so I believe in micro manifesting,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I believe that it is, yes, I'm going to say this. If you had told me
Mm-hmm.
like all years ago, like I first time with Hales in 2005. So I'm going to go back 20 years. If you told me 20 years ago, I'd be where I am right now. I would have been, what? Like I had never in a million years there was even this my ambition. Like that wasn't. I was like, I don't even know, right? So I just kind of followed the crumbs into grandma's forest. And I did not believe, when I think of who I was back then, I don't think I could have seen this bigger. Like, it wasn't overnight. I think people think that you manifest these things overnight.
Yeah.
You
That's what The Secret did.
Well, The Secret was a little distorted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I brought it up with Michael Beckwith, Dr. Michael, and he was like he didn't expect me to bring it up.
Well, I think it's good to bring it up, because I think that was an opportunity and an awakening that there is a relationship, but it was incomplete.
Yes.
And it was incomplete. And I think, gave people expectations that weren't realistic. I'm very realistic. I believed I'm going to work hard for the thing that I see. It's not, and when I say it comes to me easily and effortlessly, it means that I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to, in those 24 hours, easily and effortlessly been able to do my part. Because it's not just the universe delivering it to you like a FedEx giving it to you before 4 p.m. on Tuesday, right? It's like you're co-creating.
Yeah.
So you want that big business. What are you willing to put into it?
Yeah.
Not just give it to me. So of course, you know what? I think the people who believe that they can't, they're right. You can't do it by yourself. You can't. You have to do it in one day at a time, one action at a time, one surrender at a time, in partnership with spirit or with the universe, trusting in synchronicity and working on your faith on a daily basis. It's not to fixate on some big, humongous dream. Like, the big dream is great. Then throw that out to the universe. What are you willing to do in the interim? Like, that's the thing. And people don't realize, nobody's telling them that. Like, I think that's the falsehood about this whole, the concept of manifestation. I'll give you a really quick example. So we were looking for a condo because we're very isolated on our farm. And we're like, you know what, let's go back to the city for a little bit and see. And we kept getting turned down. And it was bizarre because we could afford it. I have the best credit. I've never been late on a payment. I'm neurotic about paying. I don't like to, I'm super honest when it comes to that. So never been late on taxes, never been late on it. So I have great credit. I have all of this stuff. And why did we? So I realized, after the fourth turn down, like, something's happening here. So I did a drawing based on my work in my book. And I said, okay, if this is not for me, make it really abundantly clear. So I will also ask to show me what's not mine. Show me what isn't. Take it away so I don't get attached to something that's not for me. Take it away. Give me a billboard. I don't like subtle, right? So
make it loud and clear.
Neon lights. Right? I was obsessed with this one area of the city because that's where my friends were. And I was like, well, all right then. So that day we had 3 more showings, and it was the one that was left in that area canceled on us on the way there. So I'm like, okay, universe, show me. So we went to a place that I didn't go. I'm like, I'm going there. I'm like, I had my, I don't know if I fit there, if this is right there, whatever. It's still under construction. Why would I want to go there? Yeah. Go in. I said, make it abundantly clear. The code to get into the unit was my address. Like a long number, that's my address. Right? Wow. And then it was 1111. And I was like, I said to my husband, I think this is for us. And it was just, yeah, sure. Boom. That's kind of how it went. And it was exactly in the end of the day on my drawing. What I really wanted was to see the water, to be able to walk the dogs, to be with my husband, close enough to my friends, and it was smaller than it was what we could afford. Right. And I was like, okay, it's smaller than what I wanted, but it's perfect for us. Right. It was just right for us. So it was like, but at the end of the day, I had to turn it over. And I said to Mark, even though I don't want to go there. And he goes, what? Let's just go. What do we got to lose? Let's just go look. And I'm like, oh, this. So it was so weird. So my point is that, when you focus on something and it's not for you, you can ask for that. This was a very specific thing because you can manifest specific things. But the thing is that you always got to surrender. I was kind of pissed off. And I finally said, screw it. You know what? If this doesn't work out, let's stop this whole maybe we're not even meant to go. I'm ready to let go. And then I got the thing. Yeah. I saw it. but how it was right for us. So you can manifest like that. And then there are other days it's just a flat out no.
Yeah. And how do you know that? How do you know something's
You know
not?
that when you see it, you know it
Because how do you know that you should not continue persisting and trying again? Because some things take time to materialize in reality. So how do you know that this is a no, this road's blocked. I need to be looking
elsewhere.
Your
body tells you.
Your body tells you.
Your body is your instrument. That's why you have to work on stress and make sure your nervous system is in alignment, right? That's why it's so important to get the nervous system. That's why it's so hard where people are under such undue stress. They can't. It's like they get caught up in the vortex of governments and all this stuff that's going on in wars and things like that, where we
get
literally
disconnected, right? They can't tune in.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, and whatever is happening at them or to them, there's a bigger story we aren't privy to. But here, like when it's a long-term goal, you have to commit to that and chip away at it and still just have faith and stay curious. Because I've said I wanted to feel a certain way. And I actually ran after a career that didn't want me, even though I was really good and I had great critical acclaim and people didn't understand why I didn't go anywhere. But it was because Spirit said, you want to feel this way? Here it is. Here's how you're going to feel. That's not it, but we'll give it to you anyway. Because sometimes that'll happen too. But that was, you know how long that was? That was 20 years. 20. I got a record deal when I was 40 and I started chasing it when I was 20. Yeah. And I didn't even want it then. Right. So your body will tell you, and I didn't listen to my body.
Yeah. And is that why you came up with this new tool that you cover in your latest book, The Art of Manifesting, where you prescribe like simple drawing exercises that help the brain kind of make connections with spirit easier? Is that why?
So this is Doodle-Your-Destiny.
I mean, it's such a novel concept. When I read about it, I was like, wow, like
drawing is not novel, right? So you have other drawing techniques like Zentangle, which is a meditative drawing. You have Neurodoodle. You have the entire concept of the neuro arts, which is dance, sound, music, art.
I've heard about music.
Yeah, right. Art therapy, etc. You have neurographica, which is created by a Russian professor. So there are many ways of using line art to shift the way you think and feel. No one has done it for manifestation, or no one has done it to communicate with the universe. It's been more a psychology thing. It's about your psychology. So what we did, I have a partner too, great, fabulous artist. I was in her membership and she taught many different versions of line art. One of them was the Russian version. And I just said to her, I said, I'm doing something completely different. You want to see it? And it turned out we were both Reiki masters and we had all these things in common. I said, you want to do this? And she's like, yes. So I said, come help me on this because I've got this going. And it's so easy. Anybody can do it. I've tested it on 8-year-olds. I've done it. Like it's just the most amazing thing that anyone can do. There is no perfection and there's no hard and fast rules, but there are techniques. There's a technique that works in order to symbolize a relationship, a frequency that you have between you and the universe. So this is kind of a symbolic representation of how you communicate with the universe and how it communicates back with you. And the least thing that it will do is calm you down.
Yeah. So essentially drawing all these shapes and symbols, it kind of helps you align or form some kind of resonant energy that draws in whatever you want. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you are saying that right. I think in simpler terms, it matches you, right? So the form, if you can imagine that in the universe, all form of met desires exist everywhere at all times, right? So the reticular activating system of the brain is going to light up the runway for the thing that you've rehearsed and that you've felt. So you're drawing the symbol of the feeling. And all you're doing is putting the feeling through your arm onto a piece of paper, rehearsing a feeling while you're doing it, kind of getting yourself high on gratitude, to be honest with you, is the best way to do it. And then you finish the drawing. It always, no matter who, you do not have to be even vaguely artistic to make this beautiful. And there it is. And then you have your drawing, and then you just surrender it and say, okay, I feel good now. This is a symbolic representation. And by the way, you know who came up with this first? Mm-hmm. Not me. Our ancient ancestors 700 million years ago.
Yeah.
First, right? The cupules, you saw that in the book. And
I did. Was circles. It caves in India, if I'm not mistaken?
India. Yeah. It comes from India. And all the ancient indigenous cultures of this planet have used, before language, before spoken word, they drew.
Hieroglyphics. That's also what comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am not a genius. I'm an innovator. I just go, wow, that is so cool. And that looks like neurons, and that looks like cells. And what if we did this?
And you back this up. You back this up with neuroscience. Yes. You have a whole chapter on that, which was really riveting. Yeah.
Well, I also know that I am a science nerd. Okay. So I don't believe just anything you say. And I also had my questions, like, how does this work? How does the brain work? How does this work with reality creation? It's not just woo-woo. Like, how does it all come together?
I'm sure a lot of people associate that with you because you're in the world of oracle divination.
Yeah. And I'm also an artist, right? So I just thought, having looked at all these different line arts, and also, being a creative naturally, I have to create. I have to wake up and be creative. It's just in me. But then recognizing all of us are. Yes. And what stops us is our perfectionism or our need to get it right. And that's why, like, certain techniques are very rigid and rule-based. Like neurographica is amazing, but it's very hard. And that's very specific. It's psychology, et cetera. And it's also, it's science-based. This is different. This is like, you could throw some glitter on here if you want. Like, if you want to make your line go in a curly Q, go right ahead. Like, go with the flow. Put no resistance at all into your pen. Allow yourself to flow like when you were 5, right? So get back to that 5-year-old and find that in that moment where you have lost your agency, like, everything is chosen for us right now. The algorithms that, like, the news feeds you get, if you click on something, you're going to see 10 more things just like that. It's like we are being fed a polarization technique. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but let's just be real. And I've said something out loud. I happen to love Skims underwear. And I said it out loud. The next thing, no, honest to God. And the next thing I knew that there was a Skims advertisement on my phone.
That's happened to me as well.
That's creepy.
Yeah, I was talking to my partner about owls, and the next thing I know, there are all owls in my Instagram.
It's weird. Can we just say how creepy that is?
Yeah, it freaks me out, actually. I'm like, is something in here listening to me?
And we don't get exposed to different points of view, and there's no room for nuance or complexity and so this is a way to reclaim your agency. When you do art, it's actually an act of rebellion too. It's like, no, I'm choosing for me. I'm choosing for me right now. I'm going to choose the way I want to feel. I'm going to just tune everything out. I'm going to do this right now. Will the apartment come? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Will it help you feel better when you do it? Yep. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. And the other thing is too, is that we have no curiosity when we're afraid. And if you keep seeing, like, I don't not watch the news because I want to put my head in the sand. I'm not a bypassing person at all, but I am Switzerland, right? I am, because I am not going to get involved in any of that. I know my own personal feelings about certain things, but I am not going to engage, because you know why? You get sucked into a vortex, and then you don't have any more agency there either. You think you are making a statement. So for me, at this time in my life, at this age, I'm going to go, you know what? How can I still be useful, still be helpful, still be, when I say still be, I feel like I'm just starting my life all over again, but show something anybody can do. instead of like only the spiritual people, like only somebody who really understands this can do that. Like, no way. I wanted to do something that everybody can do.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody can do this, because every one of us is being influenced in a way that we did not sign up for. We didn't sign up. No, I did sign up for Skims. I did get a discount. In the end, I click.
Yeah. Colette, this has been so much fun. I actually didn't expect it to be so much fun, but I did know that this was going to be a super enlightening conversation with you. And sure enough, it has been. And I'm so glad to be able to speak with you. As I said, I've loved your work for so many years. And I'm just happy to have this opportunity to share your knowledge and your wisdom with our listeners today. And thank you for all this wonderful new tool that you have written about in this book. And I'm sure listeners are going to grab a copy and want to try out those exercises.
And I'd love to be able to say too, it's a new tool based on a gazillion different ancient things put together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And because it's kind of like there's lots and lots of ways of doing line art. This is just our version of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Doesn't take away from anyone else's. We're just, let's try this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's combined with all the knowledge you have about manifestation and your own creative background. Yes, you do. You sure do.
I have some of that. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. I love your show.
Thank you, Colette. I just want to let our listeners know if this conversation piqued your interest, definitely go check out Colette Baron-Reid's book, The Art of Manifesting, a meditative drawing practice to rewire your brain, there it is, and create your reality.